surrender my life. I'm in all of you. I'm in all of you. Where your love ran red and my sin washed white. I owe to you. I owe to you, Jesus.
Well, it is a very special morning here at Castleberry, and we are celebrating Thanksgiving. I spoke with a man that I'm about to introduce you to, and he's been here once before. I introduced him to the church a few months ago when he came before. He helped our church find the new church van that we were able to buy, and we're picking up kids in that van every week. I'm so thankful for that. What a blessing. But this is a gentleman named Layth Fadhil. He's come to our nation, become a citizen of our nation from the nation of Iraq. And he's going to come and share his testimony. Y'all welcome him this morning. Come on, Brother Layth.
First of all, good morning, Castleberry Church. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Pastor Chris. I just want to share my story with you. I've been in America 23 years. I was born July 5th, 1970 in Baghdad, Iraq. My dad was a doctor. My mom, she took care of us in the beginning of life, and then she started working as an English language translator for the Ministry of Arts. So we lived in a Christian home. We always feared the Lord, and my mom, she has a big impact on my life and my sisters, and I had two sisters, and so we lived in Baghdad most of our lives, and my dad used his profession to heal people and to do good with the community, and to have, to serve his people. And my mom, she always participated in our local church. She helped out in Sunday school and missions and preparing food and, organizing the church. And so we always honored the Lord inside and outside our home. So, but we lived in a struggle life. I always, in the late 70s, I was a kid, in 80s, I always see my mom, she cries. When we decide to go visit somebody, when she prepares to put some makeup on, she had a picture of her older brother on her dresser. And every time she sees that picture, she cries. And when I ask my mom, what's going on? She says, well, your uncle passed away of a medical difficulties. And so, but I always saw my parents always, they feared the regulations and the things in Iraq. And so finally, when I got to high school, my dream was to join the Iraqi Air Force and become a pilot. So I applied, and my paperwork came back rejected. So then I went back and I started talking with my father. I said, Dad, what's going on here? Something not right in our family. And so my dad, he grabbed my hand. He says, son, let's sit down on the couch. I want to tell you some story what's going on with us all these years. He says, by the way, your uncle didn't die of medical difficulty. I said, so what's going on? He says, well, we try to hide that event from you. This way it doesn't affect your daily life. So he started telling me, he says, son, here's what's going on. Your uncle, your mom's older brother, back in 1969, was executed. And it was, it's a big shock. And I said, Dad, what's going on? Why did that happen? He says, well, back in the late 60s, when Iraq was going through the government changes and authority changes, and there was a lot of foreigners in Iraq. Iraq was kind of multi-ethnic, multicultural nation. And so your uncle, he was a wealthy merchant in South Iraq, in Basra, closer to the Gulf. But he used his wealth to serve others. He was involved with American missionaries, with British missionaries, and he was preaching. He used his wealth to help the poor, to help the community. And so he always used to get warnings from the Iraqi government. Stop doing that, stop doing that. And then in 1967, when the Arab fought the Israelis and they lost, so that was kind of a big setback. So the Iraqi authorities said, okay, we're going to teach some of those Iraqi citizens that deals with foreigners how to handle this kind of case. So the Supreme Iraqi Court, they came up with the decision to execute some of the Iraqi citizens that were associated with foreigners. And one of them was my uncle. So throughout the years in the 80s, we're always black-filed. We always, we're like the second-class citizens. And I used to see it in my dad's. My dad always, when it gets at night, we stay at home. We don't go out, because he said, we don't need any troubles. Up until the first Gulf War in the 90s, my dad said, this is it. It's time to don't look back, and it's time to move forward. So when I finished high school, it happens to be the Gulf War. So I had to go to serve in the army, in the Iraqi army. But always my mom's teaching is, we see Christ in my mom. Always love one another, love your neighbor, love your enemy. So it's always built that in my heart. So my dad bribed all the big generals. He says, son, I'll tell you what, I'm a well-educated person. I see the news. Iraq is like an ant, small dot on the map versus the United States authority and power. You do the math, we come out dead. You'll come out dead if you go to the front line. So my dad did his best is to bribe big generals in the army just to keep me away from the front line. So since my dad was a doctor, some of his colleagues that were with him during college time in medical school, they became also, higher authority in the Iraqi army. So one of them, he said, okay, I'm going to keep your son in the medical field. But believe it or not, medical field was even worse than the front line, because I start seeing dead bodies and, wounded bodies. And then, you look down, you see this, body in the bag in pieces, and then you pull his wallet, and you see this man, the dead man, his wife, him smiling, and his wife and his kids, and now this man is mangled in pieces. So I look up and I said, Lord, what are we doing here? Please give me an answer, give me comfort. What are we doing here? I don't want to do this. And plus, in the meantime, I wanted to surrender to U.S. troops. I couldn't do it because Saddam put an execution team. Anybody want to defect or surrender, it's a bullet in the back of the head. So you're in a tight position, what to do here. So every day, I pray about it. I said, Lord, you're in charge of my life. I don't know what to do. I don't want to aim my weapon at the Americans. I don't want to aim my weapon at the coalition troops. You know what's inside. You read my mind. You know what's going on with my life. So one night, I said, it's enough. That's it. I'm making a change in my life. So 17 of us, we stole a water tanker, smaller one. And 16 of us, we were inside that tanker. And we escaped north. And we were praying every mile we go through, because there are official checkpoints, from the Iraqi army and military police. And so we prayed, I said, Lord, save us, shield us, protect us. I don't want to cause harm in my life. I don't want to hurt nobody. And next thing you know, we got to the half distance between south of Iraq and Baghdad, the capital. We kind of hugged each other, 17 of us, and each one went on their way. So I finally got to Baghdad. It was 3 o'clock a.m., and I knocked on the door, and my dad in his pajama got out. He said, what are you doing here? I said, Dad, I'm done. And my dad did good in his life, helping others. His lab, he was a lab director for 200-bed children's hospital in Baghdad. In the evening, he had his own private lab, does blood work. He was a hematologist, and also he was a pediatrician. So my dad did good. A lot of people, ranchers and farmers. In Iraq, it's hospitality it means a lot. So when patients come to my dad's doorstep in his lab. You know, they come in, they have $270 for full blood work, and then the specialist asks for more blood work, and they cannot afford to pay for that. So my dad tells them, okay, you have 260, I'll take only 200, take the 60 so you can have some transportation back to your hometown. And then days pass by, next thing you know, this person happens to be a rancher. So he brings the healthiest lambs, living lamb, you know, brings them back to our neighborhood, to our house. He says, here you go. I don't know how to pay back what your dad did. So when I used to see that, it really impacted my life, that people is amazing. You know, they're amazing. Even Muslim people, you know, some of my people that I grew up with in high school, they love me so much, and they have so much respect for me. So I honored their life. And so when I was at my doorstep, I said, Dad, it's done. I'm out. I'm AWOL. The Iraqi government after me right now. So all those people that my dad helped, so when I went through the struggle times I went through, they were able to smuggle me from Baghdad all the way to North Iraq. Next thing you know, I find myself in Istanbul, Turkey. And you tell me how, I don't know, because all these tribe leaders, you know, if you did something good for them, they won't forget the deed. So they will do everything, even they will take a bullet for you. And so from Turkey, I went to Jordan, and I stayed in Jordan. And then in Jordan, there's a lot of black market travel agencies. You pay $5,000, they'll make you a fake passport, and you can travel anywhere. So next thing you know, I contacted my dad. I said, Dad, I need more money. So he sent me more money to Jordan. And next thing you know, I have a Greek passport with my picture on it. And how, I don't know. Money talks, I guess. And so I traveled with that passport. I was just shaken at the airport in Jordan, Amman, Jordan. But in the meantime, every step I go forward, I pray about it. I said, Lord, please protect me. You know, don't cause any harm, because I know my family care about me, and I want to honor you. So when I was in Jordan and I had a visa to Russia, and halfway I had a transit in Austria, in Vienna. And in Vienna, that travel agency, they gave me instructions what to do. So throughout the steps of my trip. And they said, once you get to Austria, go ahead and surrender yourself to the airport police. And I did. And they asked me, where are you from? Thankfully, I was carrying with me my birth certificate from my church. And so it was translated in English. So I handed him my birth certificate, and I asked him, I said, please help me out. In the meantime, my mom, she started helping me from Baghdad. I have my other uncle. He went to Lebanon early time, and in Lebanon there is the American University. So all the Arabic people with good grades, they attend that university, and you can get lucky if your grades are good. You know, you'll come on a student visa, scholarship to America. So my other older uncle of my mom, he came to America in 1949. And he finished chemical engineering, and he's been working with Exxon and Texaco all that time. And so my mom contacted him. He lives in Richardson, Texas. And she said, hey, take care of my son. But during that time, the conflict between Iraq and the United States, he couldn't do anything. So anyway, I was in Austria, and then in the meantime, my parents, they left Iraq because the Iraqi government started pressuring them. Where is your son? Where is your son? We're about to press charges against you. So my dad found another escape way. They ended up leaving Iraq and went to Jordan. And in Jordan, they stayed in Jordan. During that time, my mom developed non-Hodgkin lymphoma cancer. And so my dad, you know, we lived a good life. We had 6,000 square foot home. My dad, you know, he was a doctor making good living. But during that time, sometimes you see with your life, you're here at the top, and sometimes you can just roller coaster. You go way down. So my dad started all his savings, spending it on my sick mother. And then when they were in Jordan, during that event, the Jordanian government, they start taking advantage of the weakness in the Iraqis, or all the condition, what's going on. So for radiation chemotherapy, if it's 5,000, it's 15,000 for Iraqis, because we're non-citizens. So it was like triple prices. So whatever my dad earned throughout the years all vanished when they were in Jordan, paying for rent and food and sending me money in Austria. So in the meantime, with the struggle they went through, they got medical visa and to Poland. And they had also a transit in Austria. My mom prayed a lot, just so she said, Layth, I want to meet you. I want to see you in Austria. So their return back to Jordan from Poland, they had a transit in Austria. So I gave them directions and instructions, what to do. And they did the same thing. They surrendered themselves to the Austrian police in the airport. And now my mom with me. And so my mom, she contacted the U.S. Embassy, since her brother lives in Richardson. So my uncle did all the affidavit of relationship, all the paperwork, sent it to the U.S. Embassy in Austria. But during that time, we saw the U.S. government, they rejected so many Iraqi families. They didn't want to come to the United States. We prayed about it. We said, Lord, take charge of our life. We surrender ourselves to you.
Amen.
And so we waited month, 2, 3, 4, 5, and after we applied with the U.S. Embassy, and one day we get a phone call from the U.S. Embassy. Says, hey, on Tuesday, that day, you have an interview with the U.S. ambassador. And we were just shaken. And so when that Tuesday came in, we all dressed up, and we went inside the embassy in Vienna, and we met the U.S. ambassador. And he started asking us questions about our life, what we did, where we lived, what kind of students, what kind of degree we earned, our high schools. It was about almost like 3.5 hours interview. But during that time, it was lunch break. So he filled out all the paperwork and took notes. I mean, he had, I don't know, one of those yellow pencils. Maybe he went through 4 or 5 of them, and so many pages writing about notes about our life and my dad's degree and so forth. So he said, well, it's time to take a break, lunch break. When we get back, it's the actual verdict. And we were just, I don't know, the feeling was strange inside the room, inside his office. So we left, and my mom threw out the stairs going down through the embassy, and we prayed. We said, Lord, take control of our life. And during that time, before he let us go, my father, he begged him. He says, sir, I want to tell you, I have a sick wife. I lost everything in my life. I have 2 daughters. I have my son. We don't know where to go. Please help us. I want to sleep someplace in your country where when I lay down my head on the pillow, I know nobody chasing me around. So we went down the stairs. After lunch break, we came back, and he's wearing suit and tie. And once his secretary took us to his office, he stood up, and he looked at my dad in the eye and said, "Please, sir, come closer." So my dad came close to his desk, and he extended his hand and said, "Welcome to the United States of America." And my mom almost fainted, and she started crying, and of course his desk was full with tears, and my mom grabbed napkins, she started cleaning. He said, "Man, please stop, we'll take care of it." And he said, "By the way, we're going to send you to a hospital we deal with. We want you to take all the blood work, make sure you don't have any disease carrying with you, and if the results comes in negative, we just want to let you know that we're going to give you a travel document. It's a one-time document, only on a day. It's unknown date. We don't tell you. We tell you 24 hours before that trip, and you will be coming to the United States of America." And so we were just, it was maybe 12 12 foot high, the ceiling. We were almost jumping that high, up and down, because we were so excited. And during that moment, my mom said, she raised her head, and she said, Lord, I thank you for all the gifts. I thank you for my family. I thank you for everything.
Amen.
So we got out. By the way, the famous dish in Austria, it's the Wiener Schnitzel. so we had the most expensive Wiener Schnitzel meal, celebrating the good news that we had with the U.S. ambassador. And so after that, we waited, and then one day we got a phone call from the U.S. Embassy, says, pack up, tomorrow is the flight. And so a small minivan came in from the U.S. Embassy, and the official that was driving that van, he pulled that out of his small bag, and you can see it says U.S. government travel document. And you see my picture on it, my mom's picture, my dad's picture. And they took us to Vienna International Airport. And so we flew to JFK Airport. We have to go to the INS, Immigration Naturalization Services, in the airport. And right there, they handed us our green cards. And that was another joy that we received from the U.S. government. And then my dad asked the ambassador, he says, well, who's going to pay for this flight? He said, don't worry about it. The U.S. government, the INS, will be paying for it, but we ask you to do us a favor. Whoever person of this family start working in America, we will deduct that amount back, because what we want to use that money to bring more discriminated people into this humble nation. And so my dad says, yes, sir, don't worry about it. I'll pay every penny back for what you guys did for us. So we came to, and then we flew from JFK to Dallas, because that's where my mom's older brother was living there in Richardson. So he was our sponsorship, and he guided us. We took us to Social Security. We opened bank account. We took a driver license. And so we started our life from scratch. And every day, we always honored the Lord. We said, Lord, thank you for all your gifts. Thank you for all your blessings. And so we started looking around, and we joined, since we are Arabic-speaking people, there is an Arabic-speaking church in Dallas, and there are people from Jordan background, from Lebanon, from Egypt, and they helped us start our life, stand on our feet. And with that, we started going to school. I went to Brookhaven College, and I graduated, start working as a mechanic at Frank Parra Chevrolet, and that's where I met Billy McDonald, and he was my coworker. And so after that, we came to the United States in June 1993. In 1995, February, my mom passed away. And but my father became like my mother. That big, gap that my mom left, my dad tried his best to fill it up. So he started contacting our relative. Hey, how do I make this Arabic spicy dish food for those kids? Because really, my mom left a big impact in our life. And it's kind of harsh. And my mom passed away at the age of 54. And so my dad tried his best. He says, don't worry about it. All I want you to do, concentrate on your school. So I remember I used to go to college. In the meantime, I go work at Albertson as a bagger and packer. So that $500 check I used to get, I put it on top of the TV, and my dad will take care of our state inspection, oil changes. He said, guys, all I want you to do is to have a degree in this nation. And so my uncle always says, education is number one. So when I graduated to start working in the dealership, I started supporting my sisters. And one of my sisters, she went to UTD, got a bachelor's degree in computer engineering. And now she's a senior engineer and project manager with AT&T. And my other sister went to Baylor, downtown Dallas, got a bachelor's degree in dental hygiene. So it's almost like a baby. You crawl, then you walk, and you run. But one thing in my personal life, what I learned, I always trusted the Lord. He's my personal Savior. the Lord was with me from the beginning. Sometimes people ask me, why did you come to America? And one thing I will tell them, can you please look on your US dollar bill, what it says on the back side of it? In God we trust. Because he's a sovereign God. He is in control. And no matter you are in the east, you are in the west of this world, he's always with you. If you surrender yourself to him, he's in charge of your life. And so today I want to share with you, I'm sharing with you my story because I believe in the family. I believe in the function of the mother, function of the father, the function of the church, especially because the church left a big impact. I remember during bombings, my mom, she used to kind of, like a little kitten, she hold us in one of the bedrooms, and we start reading Psalm 23. And you feel a sense of comfort that the Lord is with you all the time. And, we're like vapors. Today we're seen, tomorrow we're gone. But what kind of impact have you left while you were here on this earth? What kind of positive impact? My dad, he grew up in Baghdad, and this is a special story. If you ask my dad, how was your high school? He says it's great. Believe it or not, if you search on Google, Baghdad College was conducted by the American Jesuits. So my dad, his elementary, middle, and high school was taught by the American fathers. So my dad knew how to play basketball, he knew how to play baseball, and American football, not the soccer, the American football. And so, here's one thing most important. If you plant the seeds of love, you will harvest the seeds, the fruits of love. But if you plant evilness, you will harvest evilness. So today I'm sharing my story with you because we need to thank the Lord. I want to thank this nation. I want to thank America because, I remember I was a kid, and I had a poster of the Twin Tower and the Statue of Liberty in my bedroom. And during September 11th, my co-workers, they called me names. They called me camel jockey, and they make fun of me. But inside of my heart, my mom always tells me, love one another. I can read the Bible all day long, but if I don't apply the Bible in my daily life, I'm not a true Christian. I'm not a son of God. I'm not his disciple. I'm not his his ministers. So what happened is, I always wanted to honor the Lord. And in 2011, I looked back in my life. I said, Lord, you brought me here. You send missionaries to Middle East. You send missionaries from America. They go to Asia. But you brought me here. You reversed it. Why? I don't know. You are in control of my life. So I'm so blessed. I'm so thankful. What we need to do, I don't carry a weapon on me. The only weapon I have is the prayers. We need to pray. We need to pray for the president. We need to pray for this nation. We need to pray. I'm thankful. This Thanksgiving is so special to me and my family because, if that U.S. ambassador said no that day, I won't be here. So I'm very thankful, and I thank each one of you for hearing my story. Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you.
Please stay standing. Down at the cross where my Savior was, down where for cleansing from sin I cried, there to my heart was the blood